There were three big narratives that failed or fell apart during this week, and we'll deal with them one at a time here. Now, the first one that actually involved Justice Center lawyers or lawyers funded by the Justice Center was that the negotiations had failed and that the government had no other choice but to invoke the act because nothing was working.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, we did have a little insight into this, or you maybe had more of it than I did. I had heard Keith Wilson, lawyer Keith Wilson, who was on the ground embedded with the convoy, talk a little bit about this in various podcasts throughout the summer. He was talking about this deal that was negotiated with the city, but we got to see it in detail, starting with the city manager, Steve Kanellakos, on Monday, because he was brought in to actually negotiate with Keith Wilson and Eva Chipiuk after the relations between the Ottawa police services fell apart. So Steve Kanellakos kind of gets it thrown to him to negotiate with these truckers. What they had done together is set up a deal where they were going to move the trucks out of the residential areas onto Wellington, and then what couldn't fit on Wellington, they would park outside the city.
Yep, that's correct. The deal was reached. They were not in the middle of negotiations. They had concluded that deal, and a lot of truckers, this is a movement, not an organization, right? So an organization, whether it's a business, a charity, a church, a school, a government, whatever, there's a leader who is in charge, who has authority, and who also has to accept responsibility. This was more of a movement, so it remains hypothetical how many of the truckers would have moved out, but they were moving out, and I think it's fair to say that a lot of the truckers would have chosen to comply with the deal that was made. And for those truckers, if there had been individual truckers who said, well, no, I'm not going along with this deal, I'm going to stay parked on streets other than Wellington, there would have been fewer of those, and it would have been not that hard for the government to ticket those trucks or tow them or both.